You're watching Fishing in Germany, and in this video I wanted to go over understanding water temperature and some tips on fishing in the colder weather, such as right now where we have in the middle of winter, and just how the fish react and specific species of fish, etc. I've been doing a lot of research on this, trying to, over the last few months since late fall. Reading articles as much as I could find, looking at YouTube videos, etc. And I didn't find a whole lot of really useful information other than the fact that fish are less active in the cold for most species. I did come across a really good article today that brought up a lot of cool points, and I'm going to go over the ones that really stood out for me. I'm also going to put a link to that article in the description below if you want to read the whole thing. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of you already know fishing in cold weather is a lot more challenging. Fish are cold-blooded species and they react to the weather. So a few pointers to look for is, like, the first thing I'd go to is a rapid fall in the temperature. So if it gets really cold overnight to the next day, that's bad for fishing. The fish are not going to be feeding very easily like that. If it's, say, 4 degrees Celsius, which I can't remember, I think it's 38, 39. I'll try to put in the description as well what these are in Fahrenheit. But at 4 degrees Celsius, the fish will shoal together in the warmest spot, usually in shallow areas. And you can throw food out, and that's not going to get them out of those warm areas. You've got to find those areas. So when it's around 4 degrees, you're better off, instead of just sitting there and being patient, is if you're not getting anything, move around and try to find the warmest spot in the water, and usually that's going to be a shallow area. They don't need to feed when the temperature's like this generally, so you're kind of trying to put that food right in front of their face, or a lure in front of them that's going to aggravate them enough to trigger a bite. Constant temperature helps, though. If it's, say, 3 degrees and it's been like that for a few days, that's very good. That's going to be to your advantage. Best times to fish in cold weather: when the water's above 6 degrees and the weather's settled. Again, when it's constant, that's going to be great. Afternoon in the warmed up shallow areas is also very good for fishing in cold weather. When the temperature of the water is from 2 to 3 degrees, the fish start becoming dormant, pretty much very inactive for most species. 4 to 5 degrees, they're feeding, but it's slow. And now, if we go over, it depends on different species. I'm going to go over like the most common species you're going to find in these areas, and kind of how they react to cold weather. Carp, they become much less active in the cold. It's still possible to catch them. They're just not as active. They're not roaming around for food as much. Tench, they'll pretty much hibernate. So in the wintertime, fishing for tench is pretty much useless. Roach, if there's a sudden drop in temperature, they also will most likely not bite. They will bite in the colder weather, but they're sensitive to a sudden drop in the temperature. Perch, if it's below 4 degrees, it's, yeah, not good. Bream, they still will move around. They travel in shoals, and they're always moving around looking for food. When it's colder, they'll just do it a bit slower, but they're still moving around. So bream, you still have a good chance of catching in the cold weather. They can move around every couple days to every week or so when it gets colder, though. So if you're in a spot all day, after a few hours, you might try moving if you're looking for bream. Chub, those are one of the fish that you'll catch. They've eaten the cold. There's no problem. That's all I caught this last winter, was mostly chub and big chub, and it was freezing out. So yeah, they will eat no matter what, it seems like. Barbel, sudden drops in the temperature, again, it's really bad for barbel fishing. When it's a constant temperature, then the chances get a little bit better. Rudd, that's a lot more difficult in the cold as well. And finally, pike. Those get slower in the cold, and they're not as easy to catch. I think the best options you have in the winter for pike is using larger dead baits. From what I've gathered, is they don't want to spend so much energy chasing after food. If there's a large tempting bait in front of them, it takes very little energy for them to take it. There's a good chance. Or also using baits and lures right in front of where they're hiding. Pike are aggressive, they're very territorial, so sometimes that lure right in front of their face can trigger a bite. Now, all this considered, there's even, I was reading, like, a lot of match fishers will measure, they'll read the temperature of the water to see when it's gonna, because even a slight increase, like a half a degree increase in the temperature, will trigger the fish to start being more active and biting. So they use thermometers. I mean, there's expensive ones you can get. I've seen some on eBay from China for like $2. It's kind of like a barbecue thermometer, it's got the reader and a line that you can drop in the water. One thing I'm going to try is I have this infrared contact thermometer where I just point it at something and it tells me, for example, my wall is 16 degrees. I'm not sure how well this will work, because I'm guessing if I point it at the river, it's going to tell me the temperature on the surface, but it's maybe better than nothing. And I'm interested to try this out, actually, to just look around different spots in the river and see if I can see an increase, or if I just noticed, hey, the temperature came up a little bit more, and expect maybe more activity from the fish. But yeah, that's most of the stuff I really wanted to go over on this. And like I said, I'll put a link to the full article down below. And yeah, I mean, after reading this, there's a few things I'll try differently for sure the next time I go out. Last few times I pretty much just stayed in the same spot for a long time, with not a whole lot of luck. So that tells me, okay, I'm going to try to find those warmer spots, or find where those shoals are hiding out, and hopefully have more luck during this cold weather. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Please remember to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell if you want to stay notified for my upcoming videos. That's it for now.